You're right, guys. How you doing?
Oh, actually, we feel pretty upbeat and pretty happy. Now, there's been plenty of opposition to Musk's takeover, hasn't there, all over the mainstream media. Does that include government opposition, in your opinion, Alan?
Well, clearly, just this week, it's official. Elon Musk now owns Twitter.
Does he?
But there was lots of reporting going on in the last couple of weeks saying that the US government, the Biden administration, was actually conducting a national security review of the purchase beforehand. They were basically saying, like Bloomberg, for instance, said that the Biden administration was a bit worried, and I'm quoting here, as they see his increasingly Russia-friendly stance. Now, in reality, Musk has actually been pretty bullish on Ukraine. He's supported the Ukrainian government. He's even sent those Starlink telecommunications satellites over to Ukraine, which their army is using to target Russian military right now. However, he has said a lot of things online, saying things like, let's compromise, maybe we should negotiate, end this war. And that ultimately, for the US government, doesn't seem to be the right message. They're really not interested in that sort of, I don't want to say pro-peace, but at least give peace a chance message. And so ultimately, I want to say that isn't this very interesting that the US government can block some sort of purchase if the billionaire in question is not sufficiently pro-war enough? That's very worrying.
I spoke to Tulsi Gabbard yesterday, and it was a very good and, may I say, very professional interview. And she spoke about the influence and power of the military-industrial complex over the Democrat Party in particular. And I suppose if they're dabbling in apparently private takeovers between sort of private billionaires, then I suppose that is a suggestion that there is an agenda being asserted from somewhere. Do you think it simply is a financial agenda, or do you think it's an ideological agenda? Do you think it is driven by the military-industrial complex, or do you think that there is something beyond even that, Alan?
Well, the United States doesn't really make very much stuff anymore. They basically make weapons and, some food, and that's pretty much about it. Everything we now use is made in China or India or something. But one place where the United States does have still a lot of control is over media and telecommunications. And one of them is social media. So when you think about these big tech companies that we rely on, we like to think of them as sort of transnational, existing in the ether. But no, they're actually bricks and mortar companies. And nearly all of them are headquartered in California. And so they are subject to American laws. And not only that, my research over the past couple of years into big tech companies and who is actually making the decisions about content, moderation, trust, and security really was very shocking to me and to people who've read it. I was really interested in this when the big tech companies basically decided en masse to ban Donald Trump. I really wanted to know who was actually making the decisions, but they're really opaque. And I couldn't really get any sort of answers or any sort of information off of their websites.
Now, what will be the repercussions for the security agencies working inside Twitter that you've written about in your, some are saying not hard enough, working investigative journalism career? What will happen to those embedded CIA, FBI type agents, please, mate?
Well, ultimately, I don't know. If people aren't aware, Twitter is absolutely chock-a-block full of FBI, CIA, and NATO agents, or ex-CIA NATO agents. For instance, Dawn Burton in 2019 left her job as an FBI special agent, and then she just was parachuted into Twitter and became the senior director of strategy and operations for public policy, trust, and safety. And there are many more examples like this. For instance, one of the chief people on Facebook's Trust, Safety and Moderation team is Aaron Berman, who until 2019 was one of the most senior CIA agents going. He was actually writing the presidential daily briefs that Obama and Trump read every day, although I think Trump just had them read out to him, actually. But ultimately, a lot of people really don't understand how deeply embedded national security.
Trump said those things was boring. So, yeah, they are deeply embedded and they are high-level officials. So this is not just some, I don't know, like it's beyond a revolving door. It's an amorphous and diaphanous connection, a sort of symbiosis that's ongoing that challenges the very idea of them being separate entities. Alan, did your increasingly half-hearted seeming research throw up any insights into how come Jeff Bezos was allowed to buy the Washington Post, please, sir?
Well, I think ultimately a lot of people in Washington don't really like Elon Musk. He's not exactly an outsider. I mean, he's literally the richest man in the world, after all. But at the same time, in Washington, there is an extraordinary consensus about all sorts of things to do with politics, the economy, and how the world should work. Ultimately, Musk is a bit of a loose cannon in that sense. He'll just throw out anything, and on Monday he'll say this, on Tuesday he'll say this, and it's quite hard to keep him under wraps. Bezos, on the other hand, really plays the game very much down the center, and so ultimately hasn't ruffled any feathers in Washington like Musk has. And so ultimately, I think that's one of the reasons why there wasn't too much pushback to Bezos buying the Post. But there has been a little bit of ruffled feathers in terms of Musk coming over to Twitter.